The ocean was calm when Steven Callahan left the Canary Islands in early 1982, but calm at sea is never a promise, only a pause. He was 30 years old, lean, strong, and deeply experienced. Sailing was not a hobby for him, it was a language he spoke fluently. His small sailing boat, just over 7 meters long, was built for solitude and endurance. He was alone by choice, heading west toward the Caribbean, trusting charts, wind patterns, and his understanding of the Atlantic's moods. What he could not chart was the randomness that waits beyond human planning. Days into the journey, the weather changed without warning. The sky darkened with unnatural speed, and the sea rose into a restless, violent motion. Wind screamed through the rigging. Waves struck the hull with blunt force. Somewhere in that chaos came a sudden, sickening impact. It may have been floating debris left behind by some distant shipwreck, or perhaps a whale moving unseen beneath the surface. Whatever it was, the collision tore into the right side of the boat. Water surged in. The bow dipped lower and lower, and within minutes it was clear the vessel was dying. Panic would have been understandable. Steven did not have the luxury of it. Training took over. He released the inflatable life raft, a fragile 2-meter-wide rubber shelter with a thin canopy that looked more like a toy than a lifeline. He grabbed his emergency bag and threw it inside just as the sailboat slipped beneath the waves. There was no dramatic explosion, no final roar, only the quiet swallowing of wood and metal by the Atlantic. One moment he had a boat, the next he had nothing but a small raft and an endless horizon. That was the moment his real journey began. The raft drifted freely, pushed by wind and current, disconnected from any shipping route or certainty. The Atlantic was no longer scenery, it was his entire world. Days lost their familiar structure. There were no clocks that mattered, no destinations he could see. Survival was no longer about reaching somewhere, but about staying alive until something or someone found him. Keeping the raft functional became a daily struggle. Air leaked slowly through invisible weaknesses in the rubber. Steven patched holes repeatedly, inflating the raft by hand, breathing life into it again and again, as if it were an extension of his own lungs. Every repair felt temporary, yet every repair bought time. Time was everything. Food quickly became a question of ingenuity. The emergency supplies were limited and precious. He knew they could not last. The ocean, brutal as it was, also carried life. Fish circled the raft, curious and unafraid. Using a makeshift spear fashioned from what little he had, Steven began to catch dorado and triggerfish. He ate them raw, consuming every usable part, flesh, organs, even eyes, because nothing could be wasted. The fish provided calories, but more importantly, moisture. In the open ocean, dehydration kills faster than hunger. Fresh water was his greatest enemy and his greatest obsession. He relied on a small solar still, a simple device designed to evaporate seawater and collect the condensed fresh droplets. It was fragile and prone to failure. When it broke, he repaired it. When it produced only a few mouthfuls after hours under the sun, he accepted that as enough. Each sip was measured, deliberate, almost ceremonial. Water was no longer something you drank when thirsty, it was something you earned. The sun was relentless. Near the equator, it burned his skin during the day and left him shivering at night. Salt water softened his flesh until sores formed, especially where his body pressed against the raft. Many wounds became infected. His weight dropped drastically, eventually falling to around 40 kilograms. His body weakened, but his mind refused to surrender. Each morning, he made a decision that mattered more than any other: to stay alive for one more day. The ocean tested him psychologically as much as physically. Weeks passed with no ships, no aircraft, no sign that the world remembered he existed. At times, despair crept in quietly, disguised as exhaustion. He learned to manage his thoughts with discipline. He broke time into manageable pieces, not days or weeks, but tasks. Repair the raft, check the still, fish, rest, survive the next hour, then the next. The trade winds carried him westward, whether he wanted them to or not. His raft traveled nearly 1,800 miles, guided by forces older and larger than any human intention. Storms came and went. Sharks appeared beneath the raft, curious shadows gliding through the blue. He learned not to panic, understanding that fear wasted energy he could not afford to lose. On the 76th day, when survival had become a routine rather than a hope, something changed. On the horizon, near the Lesser Antilles, a small fishing boat noticed a speck that did not belong to the sea. As it drew closer, that speck became a man, sunburned, skeletal, barely recognizable, but alive. Steven Callahan was pulled from the raft that had been his entire universe for more than 2 months. He survived. His ordeal did not fade into rumor or exaggeration. He documented it in his book Adrift, 76 Days Lost at Sea, a quiet, precise account of endurance stripped of drama and ego. It became a testament not to heroism in the cinematic sense, but to persistence, the kind that repeats small, necessary actions when no applause is possible. The ocean took his boat, his comfort, and nearly his life. What it gave him in return was a truth few people ever confront so clearly. Human strength does not live in muscle or bravado. It lives in the decision to continue when nothing guarantees reward. Hope, he learned, is not optimism. It is not the belief that things will improve. It is the refusal to stop acting as if life still matters, even when everything familiar has vanished. Those 76 days proved that the longest journeys are not measured in miles across water, but in moments endured within the mind. And that hope is not a reserve you run out of. It is an anchor you choose to hold on to, even when every wave tries to tear it from your hands.